Hey everyone. So I was out giving a Bonanza Proficiency Program flight and flight review a couple of weeks ago, and the student has owned a Bonanza for I think 7 or 10 years, but when I asked the question about the last time she did a practice emergency gear extension, she said that it had been 4 years or so since her last time doing it. She was really nervous about doing this gear extension. And it got me thinking about just how many people I've talked to, whether they're in a Cessna 210 or in a Retrack 182 or even in a Mooney, that never practice emergency gear extensions. When the time comes for you to know this stuff, it is really important that you're able to handle the situation and not get panicked or freaked out about it. So let's go and have some fun and go see how this works out for us today.
Bonanza 20 November, roger. Fly runway heading for traffic. Runway 2 cleared for takeoff.
Fly runway heading, clear for takeoff. Runway 2, 20 November. All right, final is clear. Runway is clear. We have the Archer on the upwind.
Archer 261 Alpha, you can turn left on course to the northwest.
Now, the big thing about doing an emergency gear extension, which is what I'm going to practice today, is we want to take our time. This is not a maneuver that is super time sensitive. If we're running out of fuel or something, that's different. But just because you put the gear down and you don't have a gear light doesn't mean that you're in a super time-sensitive emergency. In fact, it's the exact opposite. It means you need to slow down and think about what you're doing and give it a couple of minutes. All right, so first thing is, when you go to put the gear down...
Yeah, Embraer 9 Romeo Hotel Base, turn at your discretion now.
If you're going to go and put the gear down and you don't see your 3 gear lights, that's a problem. Okay? Now, a few years ago, when I first bought this airplane, that happened to me. The nose gear light didn't illuminate. I had 2 greens, but not the 3rd one, and that really was a traumatizing experience. Now, the other thing is, if you notice, right here, there is no longer a gear indicator light, a test light there. Well, it had been moved over to here. And because of that, I had, when I went to do the gear check, I put the gear down, the gear didn't count, I didn't see 3 green. I heard the noise and all that, but I didn't have my 3 green. I had 2 green. and had a possible nose gear issue, and oh my, was that getting me excited. I just want to make sure that if you are new to an airplane, you figure out where the switches and the buttons are, because that one was really frustrating to me. So again, if you put the gear down and you don't get your lights, one thing you want to do is test to make sure it's not a gear light, which is what the problem was for me. So to do that, you just take this test switch, you push up, and it'll give you the indication. If the lights don't come on, then you know it's just a light bulb, not a real gear problem. All right, so we're going to simulate here for a minute that I'm flying along, and I don't have, it's not a gear problem, but rather it's not a light problem, but I put the gear down, and I don't get my 3 green. Boy, oh boy, is that a problem. Now, a couple of things. First of all, when we go to practice gear extension, this is not a time-critical emergency. This is a, oh crap, emergency. So we want to pay attention to that, but we want to follow the book. We want to use the POH if you can. Use the checklist if you have to. But whatever it is, don't do this as a memory item. Use the equipment that you have, use the books that you have to make sure that you are not going to make a potential problem a real problem. All right, I'm going to go ahead now. The first thing I'm going to do, if I have a potential problem, I have any concern at all, is I'm going to turn the autopilot on. Instead of hand flying the airplane and being all over the place, turn on our flight director, get the autopilot on. All right, so we're getting some altitude, we're clearing the area, we're making sure we're good to go. First thing I'm going to do, and it's not in the book, this is one of those things where it's not in the checklist, but you still want to pay attention to it, is get to some safe altitude, clear your area, engage the autopilot, slow down. I'm coming up on 4,000 feet now. Anytime you're doing it, whether you're practicing or doing it for real, you want to make sure that you have time to do this without making a mess. All right. According to POH number 1, landing gear motor, circuit breaker, pull it out. Okay, we've got it. Checking outside, making sure we're good to go. Number 2, gear switch in the down position. Now you'll notice no green lights. If I want to test it, I can use the test switch. That's going to test to make sure that the lights are working. Okay? That's not an indication that the gear is down, that's just an indication that the lights are working. Alright. Hand crank, cover, remove it. Alright. Everything's clear back here. Hand crank cover is removed. Looking back outside, seeing what's going on. Just a notch of airspeed here, or a notch of inch of manifold pressure to give me just a little bit of airspeed. All right, hand crank level. Okay, hand crank engage and turn counterclockwise as far as possible, approximately 50 turns. Now this is what gets people in a lot of trouble a lot of times. A lot of people will try and turn this thing 50 times in a row without stopping. Don't do that. Go about 10 cranks. Stop and look outside, reassess your situation and where you are, then go back and repeat. Okay? Okay, gear handle is in the unlocked position. Now sometimes what works better for people is to slide your seat back a little bit and take the co-pilot seat forward. In this case, I don't have to worry about a co-pilot, so I can just slide the seat up like this. Gear handle is out, start cranking. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Airspeed's looking good. My heading is good. 3, okay. Adding a little bit of power. I have 3 green. Air is down. Airspeed's under control. Next thing it says, if gear extension system is designed to be lowered, do not attempt to retract the gear manually. That is only if this is for real. The electrical system is operative. Check the landing gear position. All right. Hand crank disengage and always keep it stowed when not in use. All right. Stowed. Put away. Okay. Now, here's one that's not in the checklist. Gears down. Breaker back in. If you want to extend the gear manually or electronically after, so if you want to extend the gear electrically after the test, this checklist isn't on, this procedure isn't on any checklist. Hand crank stowed, gear motor breaker in, gear up. Alright, gear's up and it works. There you go. And just for fun, we'll even put the gear back in the down position and test it one more time. Gear's down. Alright, so that's all it takes to test the exterior gear extension. I think we are a total flight time of 19 minutes, probably time on task is all of maybe 5 minutes to test the gear. So again, this is a great procedure to test, for you to work with. Take some time and go and practice with it with your airplane and make sure you're comfortable. Okay, we're going to head back over to Concord now. All right, and with that, wrap up another episode. Take care.